Out go the lights, say spoon, and here come Tegan and Sara on Radio BDC. Hello, ladies.
Hey.
And Julie Kramer is still on the microphone as well.
Because I just changed chairs.
Hold on, there we
I
go.
went
That's
from
better.
where you are to next to the girls.
Well, I wanted to have you hop on for at least the beginning of the chat because off the mic, you guys were talking about a movie that Tegan and Sara involved in that your fiance was involved in the production of.
Brickyard Films
Yes.
Did it from
So,
Something Nothing.
From what is From Something Nothing?
It was a film about
nothing
creativity.
something, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
a film about creativity. So, they didn't end up interviewing Tegan. I ended up being in New York.
Not very creative.
She's not creative enough.
No,
to
not
be
at all.
included. So they were like, "Who's more creative?" But no, it was a really cool experience. And I was saying that Tom Perrotta, who was also involved, great writer. He wrote us a really cute. What I guess the thing is that there was a creative connection made after the film because Tom reached out to us and then ended up writing our bio for this record, and we ended up
Interesting.
having some great conversations with him, and so it was a creative film that ended up connecting two creative minds.
Well, listen, you could have the architect if you ever wanted a house built with no television.
Maybe one day I will.
There you go.
You could
See?
connect with all of those people.
When I'm going through my modernist, absent phase or something like that, I'll just have him come artistically remove everything from my apartment.
It was a great film. It debuted at the Somerville Film Festival, and we keep hearing that it's coming out. So
Okay.
Yeah, very cool.
We'll stay on top of that.
Yeah.
I
know I will.
You got you don't have a choice. You got your bio. That's interesting to me that you've a new album coming out in January 29th, I believe.
Yep.
The new album's coming out. So you're rewriting you're writing a new bio. I mean, you guys have been making music for nigh on 17 years now. How do you approach okay, what do we write in our bio now? Has it changed a lot over the years?
Well, that's why we don't write it anymore because Sarah and I speak a lot about wanting to erase the internet, just start fresh. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when you've been around as long as we have, there is this instinct to want to stay away from talking about the past because you don't want to date yourself or seem too old. But then there's also this instinct where you want to reflect on how long you've been around.
Sure.
I was saying the other day, we put a show on sale in Toronto to fill in the canceled Killers show that we were supposed to be doing there. And it sold out right away. It was a small venue.
Yeah.
It was really exciting. But I was reading some @replies and this fan tweeted at us. I mean, fan, I use air quotes there.
Sure.
But, and said, really, $40 and you only have one new song? And I was like, well, I mean, technically we have 7 records and 17 years of music. I mean, there will be other things happening at the show. We're not
We're just playing 2 hours of the single.
Yeah, we're not going to play Closer 10 times. I mean, we'll play it once and then play 500 other songs. So, but I had a moment where I was like, it's hard to not be proud of what we've accomplished, but also be somewhat embarrassed. Like, yes, it's been that long.
Right.
It's taken us that long to get here.
Right. But you started so early and you're still so young, so it's not like you're like, oh man, I can't throw any more my
When
back.
you said 17 years, we're actually 17. So
Yeah.
See,
we started
singing since
in
birth.
utero. They released their first EP,
one of those
limited
family
edition
bands.
vinyl, only 500 pressed on 45. It's Tegan and Sara on Radio BDC. I can hear you about it's this wonderful age we live in where we get to be closer, to our to each other, and in your case, your fans as well. But that can also with those kind of, it's always those one or two people that kind of the old adage of the one rotten apple spoiling the barrel.
Really, and we're so lucky because there really is only one or two every once in a while. So
yeah.
we're
And
lucky.
you guys are lucky that you really you've not just built over the years, but cultivated an amazing fan base, and they're rabid as well. I mean, whatever you guys are doing, they're into it, and that's not always the case. You see a lot of times later on in a band's career and backlash, and you guys don't seem to have that problem at all. But at the same time, I can also kind of empathize with the wanting to erase the internet because you guys did start so young. So here you were really young making music early on, and there's probably, can you think of a moment off the top of your head that you go back to? I'm sure you can probably think of a bunch of them, but just one to share, be like, oh man, I kind of wish people had forgotten about that.
I think that for us, we try to be gentle and not be too harsh, and I guess
our past.
Yeah, like when the years start to add up, it sort of is like a airbrush over some of the earlier parts of our career. Sort of, you can be a little bit less harsh about it. But I think for me, I like to think of our career starting more in 2004 with the record So Jealous. That sort of seemed to be where we had really chiseled out the best parts of what we were doing, and we were able to, I think, sound more like a band, and we had a vision. And
yes.
Aesthetically, even though sometimes the mullets make me cringe. At least we were really trying for a vibe, and it wasn't accidental. And
So here's Sarah's strategy. It's not erasing the internet. It's selective memory.
There you go. Which don't we all indulge in that? I know I do.
Yeah, like the first few records, we were young. We were just trying to figure it out.
But remember, the mullet you can write off as a Canadian thing.
Yeah,
like Fat Mike did when he wrote the song about you guys, which is another one of those moments that you could probably look back and be like, why? Like as this is happening, why did Fat Mike for No Effects write a song about hitting on us backstage?
I don't know what was more uncomfortable, the song or the actual experience that informed the song.
I'll tell you though, the way that you guys handled it was tremendous because you handled it with a sense of humor, and that's really the only way that you can.
That's the Canadian in us.
That's exactly it is.
We were really angry inside, but on the outside we were like,
exactly.
We're like,
inside,
no,
I
that
gotta see you.
didn't hurt our feelings.
sorry from us.
Which P.S. since then he's like come out as this big BDSM guy. So at least maybe you can write a song where you have a Fat Mike lookalike being tortured and having his junk stepped on.
Props won't, but I think
props. Can I steal that? Props won't.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That's
props won't, but I think that he's probably a really nice guy, and to each his
he was
own.
he was a fan. I mean, when the whole
absolutely.
thing happened, he called us. He was listening to the record in the background and was like, I mean, this was a song making fun of me, not you. And we were like, no, we know.
Yeah, you guys get it.
We got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he gets it too. It's Tegan and Sara on Radio BDC. And geez, now we got down this whole like Fat Mike in bondage gear road.
That's
I
really
want to
hard
get
to
that.
distract
I want to get that. Oh,
You
that's
did a
what I want
palate
to talk
cleanser.
about. No, you had talked about like the Canadian way of kind of like like smiling on the outside but shaking your fist on the inside. We got to talk because I heard you guys off mic with Paul Driscoll talking about the NHL.
Yeah.
I mean,
boy.
obviously there are NHL fans here in the States that are very upset, especially here in Boston, where there's always been support for the Bruins. This has always been, even when it wasn't a quote-unquote hockey city, it was always a hockey city. There was always a culture there. And then where they've gotten so good in the past few seasons, they won the Cup a couple of years ago. Now there's a lot of people that are really upset. I can only imagine what it's like north of the border. I mean, it just must be bedlam.
We're so sad.
Really?
So upset. A friend of mine last night, I said, how are you holding up? We were in Montreal.
Yeah.
Big Calgary Flames fans, actually.
Right.
But I was saying, how are you guys holding up? And they're like, I mean, we're watching junior hockey.
Really? Like, because what else is there to do? I mean, at least in like here we have.
They had to find something to watch.
Yeah, which again, that's all they have because here in Boston, okay, great. You know what? I can watch the Celtics because they're happening right now. Obviously, the Patriots are going for the playoffs. I'm a baseball guy myself. I love the winter because I love the whole hot stove, like who's trading who, and then but you're up in Canada and you're in these
We're
cities
lost.
where
It's just millions of people
all there
wandering around.
is,
We're
man.
lost. Not sure what to watch.
they're gonna have a good Blue Jays team to watch because they're like buying every player that the Dodgers aren't. So
that is a world that I'm sure there are lots of women who are interested in the trading and the buying.
Yes,
and
just not into it.
The hot stoving.
The hot
or
stove,
you're doing. That seems very masculine.
She
to
says
me.
it with such disdain.
That sort of seems like something that a lot of dudes do.
Yeah.
And just I can't imagine calling it like I'm really into hockey, but I just cannot imagine calling like my best friend Robin and just being like, oh my god, did you see how much they paid for
or like who traded to
that
who?
guy?
And
can you believe his number? And like what?
See, total nerd for that
I can't
stuff.
imagine. Yeah.
Well, Tegan and Sara, I'm very excited about Closer. I mean, it's really like it kind of me personally kind of snuck up on me, and all of a sudden I'm like. It's one of those songs that hit me one day because when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, this is nice because this is not what I was expecting to hear from Tegan and Sara. I'm sure you're getting that a lot.
Yep.
And then the more I listen to it, I'm like, this is a friggin' amazing song. So much so that it's like I'm making my little top 12 of the year because I go by Adam 12. It has to be a top 12. And I'm like, no, this is like top 5. Like it's a great song. It's a banger. It really is.
Thank you.
I'm assuming. I guess we'll find out January 29th, that the album is going to have a similar flavor. Am I assuming correctly?
Yeah, I think Closer is definitely the most extreme of that new pop, sort of more like dancey feel. But like the rest of the record still has all those quintessential Tegan and Sara elements, the heartbreaking, sad, emotionally intense, like, heartthrob, heart-wrenching type songs that people have become accustomed to when listening to Tegan and Sara.
Sure.
But I think sonically the record is just beefy. It's just big. It's
Beefy's a good adjective.
Yeah, we just kind of went for it. We didn't really hold back. In our past couple records, we were working with Chris Walla from Death Cab for Cutie, and one of the strategies he had with our last record on Sainthood was to play as a band. So we didn't overdub a lot. We didn't have a lot of layering or anything like that. So it was a lot more organic sounding than.
Nice.
And with Heartthrob, we really wanted to take it to the extreme. We sort of wanted to get out and play big venues, open for big bands, play arenas. We wanted to see our fan base grow.
Yeah.
We have been doing this for a really long time. And so each record we have to sort of come up with new strategies to make not only our audience excited and invigorated and pumped up to see a new Tegan and Sara record, but we have to be that, you know? So So Closer is definitely the extreme.
Okay.
But I think people are going to really love it. I never read reviews, but we got a really great preview to the record from a site called Absolute Punk, which I was assuming, I was assuming they would hate the record. And I kind of want to like get on a plane and fly and find this guy and kiss him. But
Give him a big kiss.
He was just like, Tegan and Sara fans are going to love this record. And I think this is, for people especially who loved The Con, this is going to replace that record for them. It is absolutely heart-wrenching, and it's a great record. So I was like, thank you so much for saying it. I think people are really over-focusing on the sounds and not thinking about the songs. Sarah and I are songwriters. That's what we do. So the sonics, I mean, it's like, it's like debating the merits of Bruce Springsteen records. The songs are what really keep those records relevant. And I think not to compare ourselves to Bruce Springsteen, but I, think that we've modeled our career after him because he's our icon. And I think he showed that you can go from record to record, you can change your sound slightly to evolve with the times and still write amazing songs. And Sarah and I, that's our attempt here.
It isn't really that what you want to do. I mean, you, like you said, you want to grow your fan base. You want to make sure that the people that have followed you from the beginning are staying along, but you want to create something that, people who weren't into the first few albums or didn't know about you will get on board with this and say
yes. We'll be so selfish to limit ourselves, I think, at this point, So.
It's not easy to do, though. There's a lot of artists that won't take that risk. They'll say, no, you know what, we got a formula and it works. And I mean, I'm not talking about the Ramones of the world where it's like, dude, this is what we do. I'm talking, bands that won't kind of take that challenge and won't evolve because they're, quite frankly, afraid that they're going to turn people off or whatever. It's bold. It's brave to do that.
Scary.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Again, pleasure to have you here. Obviously, you're opening up for the Killers tonight.
Yeah.
Should be a great show. Look, you set the goal of wanting to go on big tours and open for big bands. You've achieved that already.
Making dreams happen over
Absolutely.
here.
The video for Closer is adorable. It makes me want to be like 15 and make out again, which is great. Since I'm old as blop bitty blop. But anyway, you can watch the video at boston.com, and we will listen to Closer now. Tegan and Sara, thank you both so very much. It's Radio BDC.